Welcome to the Time Management Podcast with me, your host, Abigail Barnes. I'm a productivity coach, global speaker, time management author, and award-winning entrepreneur on a mission to share the 888 formula with the world and to remind you that it's your time. Leave it to me to bring you new time management tips, tricks, tools, and strategies, to introduce you to guests, research, and case studies from around the world, and to give you a simple 5-step process you can follow to uplevel your productivity, achieve your goals, and create a life that exceeds your wildest dreams. I'm so excited that you're here, so let's get started. Welcome to the show. Today I am so excited to be joined by the absolutely incredible Marina Beech. Marina, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here, Abigail.
And without further ado, let us dive straight in. Who is Marina Beech in a nutshell?
Okay, so I am the soul alchemist. I am a wife, actually, in this incarnation. I am a mum of 2 boys, teenagers nearly, and two cats. I've got 2 cats and a dog, and I run a spiritual business.
All the things. I'm so excited for this episode. Before we dive into all things Akashic Records, and you explain to us exactly what it is and what it means, let's start off with what your relationship was like with time and time management when you were growing up.
Ooh, great question. I was actually quite good at being on time, I think. I would lose myself in my creative activities because I was very creative as a child, but I was very much a stickler for rules and being at school on time, and that kind of then moved into my work kind of environment and my work programming, I suppose, of always being actually not on time but actually early, because I then created a fear of being late and having that judgment and criticism. So I have actually in later years really kind of let that go. And what really helped that actually was having children, because you're very rarely on time for anything when you're trying to get babies into cars and visiting people. Time goes out of the window. But as a youngster, I was a stickler for being early.
That is so interesting. What I'm hearing you say there is that as a child, you were operating out of the programming that you had been given. And then when life and the real world took over, you entered into your new chapter with time. So what's your relationship like with time these days?
Well, working with the realms that I do, it's easy to expand time and collapse time. And time actually doesn't exist in the 5th dimension and above anyway. But from a human perspective, I am much more relaxed around, again, showing up for appointments, things like that. I don't hold myself to ransom around that. Although there is still a part of me that doesn't want to disrespect the people that I'm obviously showing up for. So things like this, I'm not going to be late. My clients, I'm not going to be late, but I am quite relaxed around people coming to me or, coming to my appointments. I'm quite relaxed with time. And if they show up a few minutes late or whatever, then that's absolutely fine. And likewise, I'm relaxed around time as well.
What's your journey been like to get to do the work that it is that you do today? I imagine that it has been a path. So talk to us about where you started in your career life before, and what were the steps and maybe the pivots, the wake-ups that got you to where you are today.
I've always been self-sufficient. I always wanted to be self-sufficient in terms of having my own money. So I started working at 13 in retail, but on the market, and then moved into shops. So my corporate career has always been connected with retail. But I worked in my career, at the top of my career, I was working more in the marketing departments. I was visual merchandising. I was a global visual merchandising manager, in particular for a a tax and duty-free company, which is the biggest tax and duty-free company in the world, and that was my career. So it was great because it meant I could be creative, because I did a fine art degree, which is not kind of very employable, but actually I managed to bring it into my retail. I blended the two things together and had a career in marketing, doing very creative things, but also teaching people how to manage standards in stores, how to create their own window displays and things like that. So I loved that career because it allowed my creativity to shine through. I was independent, I had freedom, I could make my own decisions and do my own schedules. So time, actually, I could work on my own time, which was brilliant. But then I got made redundant, and then I kept getting made redundant after that. So eventually I got to this crossroads of, what am I here to do if I can't get back into this industry that I know and love and have worked in for 30 years? And that's when I went on this soul searching path and started to find spiritual mentors that I was just naturally following my soul, following the breadcrumbs, and eventually got into angels, which was a really strange thing because I'm not religious, I'm not baptized or christened in any shape or form. And so this was a bit of a weird one, but that's what drew me into angels. And I think there was probably some healing that was going on there. I got my tarot deck back up because I did read tarot cards. I got my first deck when I was 17. So that was running through as a theme in the background whilst I was doing my corporate career. I was reading tarot cards, but not in a very intuitive way. It was very much from the book and following the rules, not allowing the creative and the intuitive part of me really to come through because I didn't want to get it wrong. So it was like very much kind of studying the book and remembering what the tarot positions meant and the meaning. And then I discovered the Akashic Records. Or they discovered me because I was just not picking up on the signs to actually find them. So I was listening to a lady deliver a session in the Angel Cafe, which was with Ashley Mooney, who was my first spiritual mentor, who's like massively into angel teacher. And this lady, I thought she was going to give me some guidance around my path because that's what I was searching for. What's my direction? Where do I need to go? Because I was obviously very capable, independent, mission, focus, but I was left in this crossroads and it was really uncomfortable. So I thought she's going to give me some direction. And she didn't. She revealed that I got a program of alcoholism in my Akashic Records, which I didn't know what they were. And she cleared it in 10 seconds with a pendulum. And what I hadn't admitted to anybody, even my husband or my family, was that I had a psychological addiction to alcohol. And I was battling that on my own, not really kind of getting anywhere with it other than physically reducing my intake, but I couldn't get past the mental part. And that switch went off in 10 seconds after she'd spun the pendulum, released the block, and that then meant that I could go on this deeper journey with myself for healing, but also it meant that I got introduced to the Akashic Records, and it was like, I need to know what these things are and how I can use them to potentially support others, maybe not with such a dramatic breakthrough, but breakthroughs nevertheless in terms of supporting, teaching, all of the things. So that was 7.5 years ago. And so today I'm very much all things Akashic Records and empowering others to learn about them and use them for themselves.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. So it was, what I'm hearing you say, your redundancy that was the rock bottom moment where you just were taken off on an entirely different path, trusting your intuition, trusting your guidance, and following the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, but it took me 4 redundancies before I actually fully let go of the retail because my ego was just like, because it's 30 years of programming and safety as in a regular wage. So I worked through that, 4 redundancies, and eventually I just took a part-time job that was able to step my hours down, because that was the safe way for me and my nervous system to eventually step into full-time in my business. But my spiritual business was running for 2 years full time whilst I was still got a part-time job as well, because my ego, even though it was like minimum wage and minimum hours, my ego was like, we can't let go of that regular income. As soon as I did, my income tripled overnight. Like that's how energetically I was holding myself back. But of course, you need hindsight to see all that.
Thank you so much for sharing that and for having the vulnerability to be so honest. I know that it will really, really benefit listeners. And for me, myself, it is definitely confirmation that I am not alone then, as on my own journey, 10 years in corporate, I had a number of redundancies and still went back to it. And I think it is really, really proof in what you're saying and what I know for myself, that to make a transition, to do something different, to trust your intuition, to follow a path that isn't clear, and to do something that lots of other people aren't doing, really, really, it's risky. But is it risky once you're on the other side and you know what life was like before and life is like after? So Marina, talk to us about, what are the Akashic Records?
Okay. They are an energetic field of energy. You can't see them. Well, some people actually can see them if they are clairvoyant or, visual. But they're basically an energetic library of all of your soul's experiences from your soul's incarnation, from its soul's creation. So whatever lifetime or timeline that you've had, where you've been incarnated here, incarnated elsewhere, all of the choices, all of the consequences, all of your actions, your relationships, your memories, thoughts, feelings, everything that you've ever had as an experience is recorded in the Akashic Records. So it's usually visualized as a large library that's filled with your soul's wisdom. And each book would be representative of a lifetime. So you would go in, and the Akashic Records, for me, the reason why they're an empowerment tool is that we can go into our records, we can learn more about our soul's journey and our gifts, and maybe not the ones that we're using in this lifetime, but the ones we have mastered in other lifetimes that we can actually start to unlock and reconnect with, because we've already mastered it. So from an energetic DNA perspective, that remembrance is there. So all we need to do is activate and reconnect with it. But we can also look at all of the traumas, all of the wounding, all of the agreements that we've taken at times of severe traumatic experiences, where we've done things maybe out of context or out of survival. All of those types of experiences that are still having an energetic impact, negative energetic impact, we can go back into the records and start to heal that, start to look at it with a different perspective, start to bring a different energy into that, or maybe just even activate forgiveness there. And that changes everything in our present lifetime, in the here and now. That can change our perspective, our belief. It can just have us not feel triggered as much. And it may not make sense, but we can hold on to these threads from those lifetimes. And also we can use the Akashic Records to install success anchors. So that's about influencing our future, so that we can have the reality that we want to experience more of. We can influence it by placing positive energy or symbols of success into our present lifetime book, so that we've got this anchor that helps us to stay in alignment or to course correct, so that we keep moving forward. It's like a North Star. It's like our why. So we can use those as well. But that's basically what they are. The Akashic Records are a data, and they've been scientifically proven as a field of energy. They're not made up new age concepts. They're mentioned in the Bible. They are globally known in all cultures. The word Akash is Sanskrit, and it means ether. So they're also known as the Book of Souls, the Book of Life. They're not a new age thing. They're very much well known about, but they have only really come into favor really in the last 30 years, because as the human race has reached a certain level of consciousness, we are actually able to connect with them. Prior to that, it would be people like sages and prophets and oracles that would have the right consciousness to actually access and also the reason to access that type of information. The rest of us were all just in survival mode, in wars or doing whatever. So there was no reason for us to go into the Akashic Records. But now we absolutely are using them to support ourselves, support our ancestors with healing and course correcting and just helping the ascension process and humanity as a whole. That's what these Akashic Records are really good for.
So many questions from this. It sounds to me that you're saying that each of us is a soul in these human bodies with lots of different soul experiences in lots of different soul bodies over the past centuries. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're just one soul, but we have lots of different human incarnations. So you may have spent, I don't know, 60% of your time as a male and 40% of your time in female. And that would be just on this planet. So for some of us, we would have had incarnations, in other universes, other places. The thing about the Akashic Records is even if you don't believe in reincarnation, we can still do the healing and you can still have a positive impact. You don't have to believe in any of this for the energy to work, because we're just shifting energy.
That was my next question. So for the people who don't believe in reincarnation, what would your answer to them be then?
Just be open-minded. And if you're struggling with something, you can't seem to get past something, and you've tried lots of different things like mindset work, whatever it might be, belief coding, then I would also just be open to trying an energy healing session where you get a shift of energy from your Akashic Records and it be replaced with something that's more of a higher vibrational frequency or something that's more in alignment. And just notice what changes in your experience. Just be open-minded.
And there were a couple of things that you said that just make it feel like it could be a thing. So the first one that you said was around you might have had many lifetimes. And in my head, I suddenly started to think, we say that person is an old soul. So that's the first thing. And then the other thing that you said is that there might be skills and talents in us that are activated, and that's because we knew how to do it in a previous life. So again, then we come across people who are just supremely talented at things, and it just looks like they're naturally gifted at it. And obviously there is that adage of what you're good at, you do need to practice, but some people can practice less than other people in order to be able to be good at it. So that's one of the other things that in my head I'm thinking, yeah, okay, this is making sense. And then the third thing around that is intuitively, as we go through life, certain situations will trigger feelings in us. Is this because it's activating something that is from a past?
Absolutely. So where we're getting triggered, it depends what it is, of course. But whenever there's a trigger, it's either going to be this lifetime, and it's likely to be childhood, where there is something that has happened, something has occurred, usually with a parent or a sibling, and we are taking that wound on, we're taking that little t trauma on, and there's a remembrance in like later adulthood. But if you've had the most amazing upbringing, but you're still attracted maybe those certain relationships or those certain, you're feeling certainly triggered, and it just doesn't make any sense, and you've done maybe all of the inner child work and it's still there, then I would always look at past life for sure, because it might be that you're carrying that wound from 20 lifetimes ago. You can also be potentially carrying soul contracts or karmic debt from past lives, but also for your family. You may have made an agreement to be the one that actually does the healing for this on behalf of your family because of whatever reason. So I do find that some clients can experience that. And if it's ready to be cleared, then we clear that, because that person in this lifetime can feel burdened by that responsibility, but also they don't need to do it. They don't need to do it.
So two things then. The first one, can anybody clear their Akashic Records? And then the second thing, let's go into how you would actually advise us to do it. But let's start with, can anybody clear their Akashic records?
Yes. First of all, yes, you can clear your Akashic records, and all it takes is an intention to do that. Now, with that, that sounds like a very sweeping statement, so that a lot of people were like, yeah, okay, well, I'll give that a go. But are you going to have that conviction, and are you going to have that belief that that's happened? So that's the thing where your ego will come in and just question that. But actually, we are so powerful because we have free will, and we can command energy through our words, because our words are very, very powerful. But when we put our willpower into that, when we put an intention into that, that determination, it is so, so strong. So yes, you can absolutely clear your Akashic records. Now, what I would advise to help your ego get on board with that is to make sure that there's an invocation of sorts, that you're going into the right records, and you are doing it in a way where you're doing it with your guides. You're doing it for your highest good, and you open and close your records, because you don't want to leave your records open, because it is a sacred space. It's your space. You don't want anybody else just wandering into your space. But just a simple, I now clear my Akashic records of all non-beneficial energy that is ready to be released, is enough for you to clear. But whether you believe that that has been cleared or not is another thing. But yeah, absolutely, with an invocation, that's all you need. Different ways that you can do that. So you can use an invocation, and I would always recommend, and the way that I teach is always with an invocation. But then what I will also do is layer the magic, because I'm kind of like, well, why not? Because we can. So I'll use a spin of a pendulum, and a pendulum can be anything. This is just a key on a piece of cord. Do not recommend crystal, and do not recommend chains. So spinning your pendulum, your key, whatever it is that you would like to use, anti-clockwise to clear. This creates a vortex of energy in the quantum field, and that mixed with your intention to clear is very powerful. So that's another way to clear, is to use that. If you've got an oracle card deck like mine, which is Akashic specific, and this is being proven at the moment that these are actually portals of healing, so you could use these cards just out for 24 hours and ask for the healing to be done through the card. That's also another way. You could do a journey. I've got lots of journeys. Lots of people have got journeys, Akashic healing journeys. So you can just plug your earphones in and just listen and receive the healing. Just thinking if there's any other way. No, I think from a healing perspective, that's all of the main ways that you would clear and heal.
So the main thing that I'm hearing you say is that it is possible for us to heal ourselves. But what I'm also hearing you say is that there is something that we need to understand before we can proceed. So it's possible for us to heal, but like anything, there's a book. And when you understand the book, or when you have a basic understanding of it, it helps you to do it faster, do it quicker, have more clarity around it, and for this ego of ours to really believe it. So tell us how you work with your clients, first of all, how somebody can work with you from the simplest level to the more complex level. How does that work?
The simplest level, when I'm doing any kind of group work, is I just do an Akashic journey, and there will be a main theme for us to go into the records. You don't ever want to use the records without having an intention of going in there, because there's just no point, because it's filled with so much wisdom, and there's just so much in there that you can do. It would be like going into the supermarket without a shopping list, and you want to cook something like delicious in that evening, and you've got all of your ingredients. It's like going into the Akashic Records. You want to have your list of questions or reasons to go in there, so you can get exactly what you need from the shopping aisle, get given the information, understand it, and then you can come out and leave. Otherwise, you could just be wandering around aimlessly and pick up a load of rubbish that you don't need, and then leave the supermarket, leave the Akashic Records. So I always say, have an intention. So if you're doing it with me on my YouTube channel, you're just basically listening to a journey, picking whatever thing that you're being challenged by. I fancy doing something around money blocks. Amazing. I will just plug in. I'll let Marina guide me into my Akashic Records through a journey, where, you're going into your Akashic Records, and I do a very visual, actual, kind of a explanation, but I'm not visual at all. I'm not sensory either. So my gift is knowing that I'm in there. So that means that I need to have a lot of trust in myself and my guides, because I have no visual clue or sensory clue that I'm actually going where I say that I'm going. But a lot of people that listen to these meditations are quite visual, or they can use their imagination. So that will be your easiest thing. You just sit, receive, come along for the journey. I'll take you in, I'll take you out, and you receive some healing, and you'll do some activations. That's a really, really easy way. That can take about 20 minutes. Perfect. You could also get a deck of cards, the Akashic Oracle card deck, and you could learn how to use those cards for yourself and learn how to read them, how to use them as a healing tool with the key pendulum, or as the card with themselves. So that's another way that you could do them. If I was working with somebody one-to-one, we would have a very conscious session. I don't take people into meditation. I do the research before we get on the call. Then we have conversation to understand how the client is being blocked with their intention that they have for the next 6 months. What are they doing currently as a strategy, and how can we shift that strategy? Based on the blocks that I find, before we have the session, I do all of the research, and then I'll present these blocks with the soul story that's connected to them and the frequencies that are still showing up. It's the consciousness that allows the healing to happen with the client. They need to understand what blocks they've created and how they're still upholding them, because our karmic blocks can be cleared at any time, but usually it's our pattern in our behavior and our mindset and our traumas that keep us in these cycles of habits and behaviors and attracting whatever relationships into our experience to kind of keep the karmic pattern going. The karmic pattern's there for us to learn from, but quite often we don't have the awareness of it, and we just uphold the karmic pattern. So I interrupt that pattern with knowledge, but also the energetic clearing that then comes at the end of the session. And then we have strategy, because it's all about taking grounded action. This is where the transformation and the embodiment happens, is by the client then doing differently afterwards.
Wow, this is so fantastic. So there are multiple different ways that people can access it depending on where they are. If this is your first time even hearing about it, I would highly, highly recommend that you check out Marina's YouTube channel. It's absolutely fantastic. All the links, as always, are in the show notes. Now, I'm going to do something I haven't even told Marina I'm going to do it. I'm just going to ask her and hope that she does it for us, because I feel like, rather than talking, this is the best way for us to see one of the other things that she has, which is absolutely fabulous. And this is the deck of cards that she was mentioning. So it's called the Akashic Oracle cards, and she's been talking about the pendulum key that comes with it. I have got mine, and the amazing cards, which are so incredibly beautiful. Marina, I know every single week you pick 3 cards for your YouTube channel, and you talk us through it, and you tell us to pick card 1, 2, or 3, and then you also say there's a theme. What can we do with this deck, with your deck, for the benefit of the podcast, the people listening, so that we can demonstrate how this actually works in action when they buy their cards and they've got them at home? What can we do today?
Well, I could show how to pull a card, and I could talk about how to read the card, if that's helpful.
That would be amazing. So with the Oracle deck of cards, you get a masterclass. I have watched it all. One of the things that Marina talks about, that they also talk about in the tarot world, is when you get your cards, to clear them, to bless them, but also every time you pick them up, to knock on them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to knock on my cards now. What do I do with them?
What you want to do then is to think of a question. And if you haven't got a question, maybe for the listeners, you may just want to ask, what do the listeners most need to know at this time? So thinking of that question, you would then just start to shuffle your cards.
So this is how I shuffle.
That's fine. There's no right or wrong with shuffling.
Maybe not the best way of shuffling, but this is my shuffling.
Perfect.
And then I heard you in the training say that you always pick the top card off. I always pick whatever card pops out. So then I keep shuffling until a card pops out.
Yeah, so I always hand pick my cards. I don't take the top cards, but I will always pick with my left hand because my left hand is my non-dominant, so it's more intuitive. I don't take fallers, or you pick what, however you do it.
I just had 4 fallers.
4 fallers. Okay, so the question was, what was the listeners what do they most need to know at this time? So what cards have you got?
So we've got money fears.
Okay.
We've got ancestral heritage.
Yeah.
We've got success anchor.
Yeah.
And we've got gratitude practice.
Oh, okay. So
I feel like this is a really interesting conversation.
Yeah. So what would you pick? For me, not looking at the book, when you look at those cards and thinking about that question that we've asked for the listeners, out of those 4 cards, what feels the strongest? What are you drawn to the most in terms of card?
I feel like money fears is the programming of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like ancestral heritage is what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
You mentioned that some of the Akashic work that you do is really around the success anchors. And when I was meditating yesterday, it came out that I needed more fun and joy in my life. And the gratitude practice, whenever I do anything to do with manifesting or abundance, they are always talking about being grateful for what you have. Mm-hmm. So I feel that the conversation really around our gratitude practice, and maybe if you could do a guided visualization for us to anchor that in.
Yeah, absolutely. Anchoring gratitude practice. Okay, so what I'd love you to do is just to place your hands facing upwards on the tops of your thighs. So what you're doing is you're letting your body know that you're now opening yourself up to receive. And gratitude practice is all about receiving. If you have this deck of cards, you'll know that in that card there's a female, and she has her arms open up to the universe, up to the skies, and she's there receiving all of the gratitude. So us having our hands just on the tops of our thighs puts us in this open and receptive space. And I'd just like you to take a deep breath in for me. And as you take that big deep breath in, we're going to call back all of our energy from across time and space, people and events. And on the out breath, I just want you to relax. And as we relax, we're going to ask for all money fears, all money blocks, anything that's not serving or supporting us, held within our energetic fields, in our multidimensional being, in the Akashic Records, to be released back to divine source light. So on every out breath that we have, we're releasing money fears, money blocks. And on the in breath, continuing to draw in our soul's energy, our soul's light, but also drawing in the frequencies of abundance, prosperity, wealth, gratitude, all of the beautiful things that we wish to experience, that we do experience already, but maybe we need to bring our awareness, greater awareness, to give that thanks to those small things that help us in our experience, in our everyday. And I want you to imagine now, sense, feel, know, or imagine that there's a large book in front of you. This is your present lifetime book, and it's there, just there in front of you, and the pages are open, and you may notice that there's beautiful golden light emanating from the pages. Beautiful golden light. And we want to just think now of a symbol, or maybe the word that brings gratitude, brings thanks to your consciousness, to your awareness, how would you describe gratitude and thanks? What would be the object or the symbol or the colour? Maybe it's just the word gratitude and thanks. But I want you to bring that into your awareness and bring that in as a 3D object. So if it is a colour, just maybe a shape that has that colour, maybe it's the word. And I want you to feel that in your heart. What does gratitude and thankfulness feel like? Really bring feeling into that. What are you grateful for? What are you thankful for? Bring that feeling into your heart. And as you hold that object, that energy, that sense of gratitude and thankfulness moves down from your heart, down into your arms, down through your palm chakras and into the object. So this object, whatever it might be, is being infused with gratitude and thanks. And then when you're ready, I want you to press that object into the book, into the blank page that's now presenting itself. Press with both hands so that you're anchoring in this real frequency of gratitude, but with an object that anchors it in even further. So whenever you are perhaps feeling challenged, maybe around money, your mindset, beliefs, situations and circumstances, this just allows you to remember the gratitude and the thankfulness of all the things that you do have, the people that are in your life, the support that is available to you, the opportunity and possibilities perhaps to expand your money flow. Pressing that in deeply into the page, allowing the heart energy to infuse into the book through the hands, through the object. And we're asking now for this object, these feelings of gratitude and thanks to be anchored into our present lifetime book, for our guides to facilitate our higher self, to facilitate that process, and to remember whenever we need to remember the gratitude and thanks, to bring that more to our consciousness, to our awareness, through our body, through our mind, so that we can have this connection. We can move through those fears whenever we choose. And then when you're ready, step back from that book. And we give thanks to our guides and our record keepers, our higher self, all aspects of our multidimensional being. We give thanks, we give gratitude. And then when you're ready, you can just start to open your eyes and bring yourself back round.
Wow, that was absolutely amazing. Thank you so, so much. I could see it all, and my word was love.
Oh, beautiful.
And my symbol was a heart.
Oh, nice.
So, thank you for sharing that. I highly, highly recommend that you check out these cards. They are not only beautiful, but so transformational. I feel like we could have an entire conversation about pendulums and how to use them. Clearly, I watched your training, but didn't hear the clear it anti-clockwise. I just got the how to ask it for the yes and the no. So I've got, when it spins clockwise for me, that's a yes. And when it spins front and back, that's a no. So that has been so, so interesting. But Marina, tell us about the kinds of ways that people can work with you, what you have got coming up.
You can follow me on social media. So that's YouTube, it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and it's all Marina, the Soul Alchemist. If you want to sample some of the channeled free journey meditations, there's more than 100 on there. So there's something for everybody, for every kind of situation. So go and check those out. And then if you want to work with me in a group capacity, then I have just the Akashic Magic Circle. And this is a membership, it's a training membership for those that have my Oracle card deck. So that takes your training and your understanding of the cards and using pendulums and charts with the cards to a much deeper level. Then you can work with me one-to-one. And I have certifications as well. So you can go much deeper with the Akashic Oracle cards and also the Akashic Code certification. So I will teach you how to use the Akashic Records for personal use, for practitioners, so being out there and running a business, using this as a service, and also how to use the business records as well, because your business also has its own Akashic Records. There's lots of ways. I do lots of training because I'm really about empowering people to use the records for themselves or for their business as well.
That is so exciting. Time is absolutely getting away with us on this episode today. There's still about 10 questions I want to ask you, so I feel like we're going to have to do a part 2 at some point. You said at the start of the episode about time doesn't really exist how we think it exists. Tell us what your understanding is of time and time in the 5D realm.
Well, time doesn't exist. From what I understand with the Akashic Records, we are living and experiencing our past, present, and future all at the same time. It's a bit of a mind bleep, but yeah, because time doesn't exist, we're multidimensional. We're able to experience our past, present, and future all at the same time, and different timelines all at the same time as well.
Do you think that it doesn't exist in the way that we are taught that it doesn't exist, or just that the world, our understanding and language has moved on so much that time is just a totally different concept?
I just don't think it exists in the 5D and above. The 3D, we needed to have something that we could give structure to arrange connections with each other. And of course, we were always using the sun and the planets and bits and pieces to, navigate the seasons, navigate the 24-hour clock. But then obviously it became more advanced and it became very structured. And so it now becomes, in some ways, it's helpful, but in other ways it's used as a punishment tool. We punish ourselves with time. It's a weapon that we can use against ourselves. There's a lot of programming that's attached to time. Obviously, we need it in order to function because that's how we've been programmed to function with time. But in the 5th dimension, we just are. So that time just doesn't need to exist. It just doesn't need to be there. But for our 3D minds, that is just really hard to get our heads around.
And again, I feel like it's a whole episode in itself. But what I'm really hearing you say is that in the physical world, the 3D world, the day-to-day, time exists in order to be able to catch a flight or produce.
It gives a structure, yeah. But you may notice that time feels like it's speeding up. And that is because the ascension process, there is a little bit of an influence there, I think, from other dimensions or other realms that are slightly influencing time a little bit. But then we could totally go into the whole conspiracy theory. But time is also being manipulated here as well by the powers that be. It's a funny one.
And even in the 3D world, I think that we can all admit that time when we're at the dentist seems like it goes on forever. And when we're with our friends, it went by in the blink of an eye. And if we have to hold a plank in the gym, then that minute seems like an hour. But when you are going to miss a train or a plane, that minute seems to go in 10 seconds. So time doesn't really exist how we are led to believe it does, but in the 3D world, perhaps it does to a degree. And then all I would say to bring a conclusion to this, because again, it is a really long conversation, is that your perception is your reality and your circumstances are your experience. Do with that what you will for the benefit of bringing an end to this conversation right here, right now. Tell us about how you manage your time on a day-to-day basis. What's something you do with your time day to day that you don't think that other people do?
I'm sure a lot of people do it. I have to-do lists. I'm a big fan of to-do lists. I use my calendar to block out time because I need that structure. But then I also will, if I need to expand time, because there's things that I really want to sit with, then I will ask for time to be expanded. And that is my relationship with time. So I'm obviously changing my own perspective or mindset, because time doesn't exist, of course, on the fifth dimensional, but I will ask for time to be expanded.
Isn't that so interesting that I think we both probably share this. I will ask for more time, but I will do it by saying I have enough time to get this done.
Yes.
So while I'm doing the activity, I am slowing down time by acknowledging that I have enough time to get this done.
Yeah.
And what is very, very interesting is that our beliefs become our reality. And I've listened to lots of trainings recently where they talk about whatever belief you hold in one area is possible to have that belief in another area. So if I believe that I have enough time, then I can believe that I have enough money, then I can believe that I have enough health, then I can believe that I have enough whatever, because how we do one thing is how we do everything. So whatever you firmly believe in your life right now, this is for the listener, whatever you firmly believe in your life right now, just know that you can apply that to any other area of your life because it all works in exactly the same way. Where is the best place for us to find you online?
Any social media platform. So Marina the Soul Alchemist. I tend to be on Facebook the most, or Instagram. But if you want to check out my free meditations, then get to my YouTube channel.
Amazing. And we are going to leave all of the links for all of the things in the show notes. Please, please, please reach out to us. Let us know what you took away from this episode, what further questions you have. Hopefully we'll be able to get Marina back. She is a very busy lady, but I would love to continue exploring this conversation, and I would love us to continue to remain open, because evolution for ourselves and for the planet and for humanity is only going to come from us being able to remain open, keep questioning everything and evolving our understanding of what's possible for us and what's possible for others. And I'm so excited to see where we can go with all of this. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us on the show today, Marina.
Thank you so much, Abigail. And thank you to all of the listeners for listening in, and go and check out the Akashic Records.
And until next time, my friends, stay safe, stay well, and do remember, it is your time. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you loved what you heard, be sure to let me know by leaving a review so I can keep the good stuff coming. Come and say hi on Instagram at Success by Design Training, or visit my website, successbydesigntraining.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search Abigail Barnes. Until next time, don't forget, you are amazing and it's your time.